Now listen carefully. A black man walks into a 5-star hotel that he secretly owns. He doesn't flash a Rolex. He doesn't carry an entourage. Just him. Quiet. Calm. Casual. The receptionist doesn't recognize him. She smirks and says, "Sorry, sir. This place isn't for people like you." Then she does the unthinkable, calls security to escort him out like a criminal. Cameras roll. Guests stare. He says nothing. He just walks away. But here's the part that'll leave your jaw on the floor. He didn't walk away in defeat. He walked away to design one of the most brilliant public takedowns the internet has ever seen. Within 24 hours, the hotel's reputation crumbles. The staff who disrespected him, their names hit the headlines. And that same lobby where he was insulted becomes the stage for the biggest power move of the decade. Don't blink. Don't scroll. Because what this black CEO does next will leave you shouting. That's how you teach the world a lesson. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button, like this video and also comment where you are watching from. The automatic glass doors of the hotel slid open with a whisper, letting in a gust of evening air and a man who looked like he didn't belong, at least not to the eyes watching him from behind the glossy reception desk. Desmond Xavier Cole walked in quietly, dressed in a plain hoodie, black jeans, and sneakers. Nothing about him screamed billionaire. No briefcase. No designer cologne. No entourage. Just a tired man who had been on the road all day doing charity work and decided to stop by one of the many hotels he now owned, a place he had never visited in person. Not once. The hotel was stunning. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above. Golden elevators gleamed in the corner. It was exactly how he designed it, modern, luxurious, welcoming. But the welcome he received was anything but. The white receptionist looked up from her phone, her bored expression sharpening into suspicion the moment she saw him. She didn't smile. Didn't ask if he needed help. She just stood there, blinking. "Yes," she said, arms folded. Desmond stepped up to the desk, glanced at the gold emblem on the marble countertop, his initials were on it. He smiled to himself. "I'd like to book a room for the night," he said calmly. The receptionist's lips curled into a tight, patronizing grin. "We're fully booked." Desmond glanced at the digital screen behind her, showing, "Available deluxe rooms, 14. He looked back at her. "Your sign says otherwise." She leaned in, whispering like she was doing him a favor. "Yeah, those aren't for walk-ins." Her eyes scanned his hoodie like it offended her. "They're reserved for actual guests. We're a high-class establishment, sir." Guests nearby glanced over, sensing tension. One man chuckled quietly behind his newspaper. Desmond remained calm. "I see. Then perhaps I can speak to the manager." "Oh, he'll say the same thing," she snapped, already pressing a button under the desk. "And I don't appreciate being questioned. I've seen this before, you people trying to sneak in pretending to be guests. It's not going to work here. You people." That was it. Before Desmond could respond, 2 security guards in black suits approached from both sides. One tapped Desmond on the shoulder. "Sir, you've been asked to leave the property." Desmond turned to him. "I haven't raised my voice. I haven't caused a scene. I simply asked for a room." The receptionist chimed in again. "You're making our guests uncomfortable. Please go before we call the police." A moment passed. Then Desmond smiled, not out of joy, but with the kind of calm that comes from knowing something no one else in the room does. He reached into his pocket, not for a weapon, not for ID, but for his phone. He opened his notes app, typed a single sentence, and tucked it back into his coat. "I understand," he said quietly. "Thank you for your time." And with that, he turned and walked out the same glass doors he entered, silent, slow, unbothered. But anyone who looked closely would have seen it. That smile. That dangerous, calculating smile. It wasn't over. Not by a long shot. As the cool night air kissed his face outside the hotel, Desmond Xavier Cole stood still for a moment, facing the building that bore his name, though no one inside had taken the time to read it. His hoodie cast a shadow over his sharp eyes, but underneath the quiet expression, something else was stirring: strategy. He slipped into the back seat of the black SUV waiting by the curb. His assistant, Mia, glanced up from her tablet. "Everything okay?" she asked. Desmond gave a short laugh. "Perfect. Just got kicked out of my own hotel." Mia blinked. "Wait, what?" He tossed her his phone. "Watch the last 5 minutes of the lobby camera footage I synced." As the video played, Mia's face tightened. The receptionist's tone. The way the security handled him. The smug glances from guests. It wasn't just racism, it was routine racism. Cold. Comfortable. Practiced. "She didn't even ask your name," Mia whispered. "She didn't need to," Desmond said flatly. "She saw everything she needed in the color of my skin and the cut of my clothes." Mia's fingers hovered over her keyboard. "Should I fire her now? Draft a statement? Get HR involved?" But Desmond just shook his head. "No." Mia stared. "You're seriously going to let her get away with that?" He turned to her with a calmness that felt like thunder waiting to roll. "Mia. When I bought that hotel chain, I told you I wasn't just collecting properties. I was collecting patterns. I've dealt with this kind of poison my whole life. What makes it dangerous now is that it's not loud anymore. It's polite. Corporate. Normal." He leaned back in his seat. "If I fire her now, she'll cry on the internet and say she didn't know. That she was just doing her job. She'll get sympathy." Mia nodded slowly. "So what's the plan?" Desmond looked out the tinted window, eyes reflecting the hotel's glowing sign. "Tomorrow," he said, "I'm renting every suite, every conference room, every corner of that building. I'm turning that hotel into a stage." "A stage?" Mia asked. "For her reckoning," he said. "And the world's awakening." She blinked. "You want this to go public?" He nodded. "But not through scandal. Through spectacle. I want her to smile when she sees me again. I want her to be proud of how she treated me, before she realizes who I really am. And I want everyone to see how deep this goes." Mia paused. "You're going to disguise yourself again?" "No," Desmond said. "This time, I'm going in as myself. But she won't recognize me. Because people like her? They don't see black success unless it's dripping in diamonds or on a magazine cover." He pulled out his phone again and made a call. "Yes, I'd like to book the entire Astoria Grand Hotel tomorrow night," he said. "No, not just the ballroom. The whole building. Every room, every suite, every floor." A pause. "Yes. Yes, I know it's expensive. I own it." He hung up and looked at Mia. "Tell the press there's a secret billionaire event happening there tomorrow. Get a few celebrity faces to show up. I want buzz, lights, and questions." Mia smiled, already typing. "And what will you be doing while the hotel fills up?" Desmond's eyes gleamed. "Watching." The morning sun rose over the Astoria Grand Hotel like it always did, elegant, warm, and golden. But inside, the temperature was about to change. The calm before the storm had never looked so luxurious. Desmond arrived early, this time not in a hoodie, but in a crisp gray suit and aviator sunglasses. Still, there was no flashy entourage, no red carpet entrance. He walked through the side entrance quietly, like a ghost returning to haunt a house that forgot it wronged him. He didn't approach the front desk. Not yet. Instead, he headed to the camera room, where Mia and a small tech crew were already set up. "Everything's in place," Mia whispered. "We've got wireless mics on the front desk, security room, and dining area. Audio's clean. All feeds are live." Desmond nodded. "Guests?" She smiled. "Our undercover guests checked in this morning. One is a young black couple in athletic wear. One is a disabled black veteran in a wheelchair. And we have an older black woman dressed in traditional African attire. All were told to simply exist." "And the staff?" Desmond asked. Mia looked at the monitor. "Still themselves." He watched as the receptionist from the night before, her name tag read Haley, scowled while checking in a black man with dreadlocks. She handed him a room key like she was passing out trash. Moments later, the older woman entered the lobby. Haley didn't even look up. "Ma'am," the woman said softly, struggling with her bags. Haley waved her hand without eye contact. "Bellboy will come. Eventually." Then came the kicker. A white woman entered behind the elderly guest, blonde, wearing sunglasses. Haley stood instantly and greeted her with a full smile. "Welcome to Astoria Grand, ma'am. What a pleasure. Let me personally walk you to your room." Desmond's jaw tensed. It wasn't shocking. But it was still infuriating. He turned to Mia. "Showtime's in 2 hours. I want this place packed by noon." "Already in motion," she said. "Influencers are arriving. Press crews setting up accidentally. Even TMZ is curious. You'll have cameras where they don't." "Good," Desmond said. "Let's make sure they see the before picture before I show them the truth." Downstairs, Haley was back at her post when the general manager walked past. She straightened up quickly. "Hey, Tom," she said, smiling sweetly. "We had a guy yesterday, black, hoodie, real pushy. I think he was trying to get in for free or something. I shut him down." Tom, a pale man with slicked hair, laughed. "Good. We don't need people like that lowering the standard. Always play it safe." She winked. "I got this." Neither of them knew their conversation had just been recorded, and that it would soon go viral across every major platform on the internet. At noon sharp, a row of sleek black cars rolled up outside the hotel. Paparazzi appeared out of nowhere. Guests peered through the glass. Haley and Tom ran to the door. "Who's coming?" she whispered. "Some celebrity thing?" Tom adjusted his tie. "Whatever it is, we'll make a good impression." But the moment the back door of the final car opened, the air shifted. Desmond stepped out, no hoodie this time. No disguise. He walked toward the hotel with poise, power, and a look in his eye that stopped time. Haley blinked. "That guy looks familiar." Tom tilted his head. "Wait. Is that?" But it was too late. Desmond was already walking toward the very front desk he had been thrown out of just 24 hours ago. And this time, the whole world was watching. The lobby of the Astoria Grand buzzed with confused energy. The press was everywhere, subtle at first, then bold. Guests whispered. Staff straightened their uniforms, trying to keep up appearances. Haley, the receptionist, reapplied her lip gloss and checked her reflection in her phone camera. She was sure something big was happening, and she wanted to be in position, just in case she could flirt her way into a photo op with a celebrity. "Do you think Beyoncé is coming?" she whispered to Tom, the general manager. Tom chuckled. "Could be. You know how these elite events go. Total secrecy. Last-minute arrivals." Haley's eyes lit up. "Well, whoever it is, we'll treat them right. And then the doors opened. Not once, but 5 times. One after another, blacked-out cars rolled up to the hotel entrance like royalty arriving at a palace. The first to emerge was a black actress whose face was known in every household, an Oscar nominee, dressed in a flowing red gown, escorted by security. The second, a famous tech mogul with millions of followers and a reputation for speaking out against racism. Then came athletes, musicians, influencers, people the internet lived for. Cameras flashed like lightning. Social media went wild. The hashtag Astoria event trended within 30 minutes. The last person to step out? Desmond Xavier Cole. Only this time, there was no hoodie, no humble sneakers. He was dressed in a deep charcoal suit with a matte black shirt underneath. No tie. Just presence. Power. Precision. His face was calm, but his eyes told a different story, cold calculation. He walked toward the entrance, ignoring the flashbulbs. As he stepped into the hotel, every sound seemed to dim. Haley's smile faltered. Her stomach turned. "Is that the guy from yesterday?" she whispered. Tom's jaw clenched. "No way. No. He was wearing a hoodie. This guy, he can't be." But as Desmond walked up to the front desk, Haley's hands began to tremble. He stopped right in front of her. "Good afternoon," he said. Haley forced a smile, her voice cracking. "Welcome to Astoria Grand. May I help you?" Desmond leaned slightly on the marble desk, the same one where she denied him a room just the day before. "No need. I believe I can help you." Tom stepped forward quickly, trying to regain control. "Sir, I'm the general manager here. May I ask?" Desmond turned slowly. "You don't need to ask. In fact, you should already know me. I sign your checks." Tom blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "I'm Desmond Xavier Cole, owner of this hotel. And every guest that walked in with me today is here on my invitation." The room went silent. Dead silent. Haley's face turned ghostly white. She took a step back, knocking over a stack of key cards. Tom's lips parted but no words came out. Desmond looked around the lobby as cameras captured every angle. "Yesterday, your staff made it clear that I didn't belong here. That I wasn't worthy of this place." He looked back at Haley. "But I built this place. I paid for every chandelier, every polished floor, every paycheck. I created this space to be welcoming for all." He paused. "But apparently, the rules change when you walk in wearing melanin." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Journalists leaned in. The live feed numbers soared. Desmond stepped back and raised his voice just enough. "This hotel is officially closed to the public for the next 48 hours. Every current guest will be refunded and asked to leave, except for the ones I've personally invited." His words landed like thunder. "And as for you," he said, turning his gaze to Haley and Tom, "don't worry. I won't fire you, yet. But your next 24 hours will decide everything." The lobby was frozen in a strange stillness. Haley stood rigid, her face pale and lips trembling. Tom looked like he was sweating through his expensive suit. A few brave employees whispered nervously to each other behind the concierge desk, but no one dared move. Desmond stood at the center of it all, a man made of silence and steel. Every camera in the room was pointed at him, capturing his every word, every breath. Then he smiled. Not a warm smile. Not a cruel one either. A mysterious smile, the kind that made you feel like something bigger than you was already in motion. "I know what you're thinking," he said, his voice cutting through the lobby like a blade. "You're expecting me to fire people. Call security. Humiliate the staff like they humiliated me." Tom stiffened. Desmond turned toward him slowly. "But see, Tom. I don't believe in quick punishments. I believe in slow awakenings. He stepped closer to the center of the lobby, where a temporary stage had been set up. 2 cameras were now broadcasting live across multiple platforms. The stream had already hit 500,000 viewers. I didn't call the press here just for drama, Desmond continued. I brought them here for transparency. Because racism, especially quiet, polished racism, thrives in the dark. So today, he paused. We turn the lights on. He clapped his hands once. A team of workers entered the lobby through the side doors. They began setting up velvet ropes, creating lanes. A sign was placed near the front desk. Service test in progress, undercover guests live audit. Guests and reporters leaned in to get a better look. Haley squinted, confused. Tom's voice shook as he asked, "What is this?" Desmond looked at him with dead serious eyes. You and your staff are about to be audited, by your own behavior. He turned to the cameras. Over the next 3 hours, individuals from various backgrounds, black, disabled, elderly, immigrant, will walk through this hotel as undercover guests. They will ask for basic assistance. Kindness. Respect. You will not be told who they are or what they'll request. And every interaction will be monitored and streamed live. Haley's mouth fell open. Wait, you're testing us? Like we're children? Desmond turned his eyes on her. No, Haley. You tested yourselves the moment you saw my skin and decided I wasn't worthy of a room in my own hotel. This isn't a punishment. It's a mirror. Tom stepped forward, trying to take control. This is highly unprofessional. You can't just turn our workplace into a circus. Desmond didn't flinch. What you call a circus, I call accountability. One of the undercover guests, a young black man with a service dog, walked toward the desk. Haley looked around in panic. The camera zoomed in. Desmond folded his arms and watched. This hotel's brand prides itself on 5-star service and luxury hospitality, he said. Let's see if that's true when there's no red carpet, no designer clothes, no obvious wealth. Let's see how you treat the people you don't think are powerful. A murmur rippled through the lobby. A second guest entered, an elderly woman with a cane and a thick Nigerian accent. She asked where the elevators were. The staff member she approached looked at her, hesitated, then rolled her eyes and pointed without saying a word. The live stream audience exploded with comments. Wow! This is eye-opening. That staff just ignored her. On camera. This is why we need people like Desmond Cole. Desmond didn't say a word. He just watched. His face, unreadable. His plan? In full motion. And the hotel? It had just become a living, breathing courtroom, with the world as jury. The velvet ropes were now the boundaries of truth. Desmond stood silently in a far corner of the lobby, watching like a director on set. Cameras zoomed in from multiple angles. Every staff member was being monitored, judged not by titles or uniforms, but by their actions. What was once a hotel had now transformed into a stage. And the performance? Brutally real. The first wave of undercover guests moved with subtlety. A young black woman in a faded t-shirt approached Haley, clutching a backpack and a booking number. Hi, she said softly. I think my reservation got mixed up. Could you help me sort it out? Haley gave her a tight smile, barely hiding her annoyance. Are you sure you booked here? Yes, ma'am. It should be under. Yeah, we don't usually book, last minute like that. You sure this isn't a scam? The woman blinked. Excuse me? Haley rolled her eyes and turned to her computer, typing aggressively. Let me see what I can do. The live stream chat exploded. She just accused her of scamming. Same woman who refused Desmond a room yesterday. This is embarrassing to watch. Meanwhile, Tom, the manager, tried to appear composed as he was approached by a man in a wheelchair. The man politely asked where the accessible restroom was. Tom glanced around awkwardly, clearly unsure. I think it's somewhere near the basement stairs. Down that way. Ask housekeeping. Housekeeping? For an ADA-compliant restroom? The man rolled away, expression unreadable. Mia leaned toward Desmond, whispering, "This is gold. Every second, they're digging their own graves." Desmond didn't smile. "It's not gold. It's truth. This isn't just about firing people. It's about exposing a mindset." Back in the lobby, the final undercover guest made her entrance. An elderly African woman with deep wrinkles, regal posture, and a traditional head wrap. She walked slowly, her cane tapping the marble floor with each step. She stopped at the concierge desk, where another staff member, Lisa, a young white woman, barely acknowledged her. "Hello, my daughter," the old woman said kindly. "Could you help me find the elevator?" Lisa didn't even look up. "Down the hall to the left." The woman frowned. "Could you please walk me there? My leg is not good." Lisa sighed dramatically. "I'm busy. Someone else will assist you." The old woman nodded quietly, hurt in her eyes, and began walking away. Every step looked like a struggle. The room was silent. Suddenly, Desmond stepped out from the shadows. He walked over to the woman, took her by the arm gently, and escorted her to the elevator himself. Guests gasped. Press snapped photos. Reporters whispered into microphones. Desmond returned to the center of the lobby and faced the staff. "All of you," he said, voice low and razor-sharp, "just failed the most important test of your careers." Tom tried to speak. We didn't know." "That's the point." Desmond roared, for the first time raising his voice. "You don't need to know someone's status to treat them with basic human dignity." The lobby fell dead silent again. "You welcomed celebrities with champagne and smiles," Desmond continued. "But you dismissed a veteran, ignored an elderly woman, mocked a young black guest, and failed a man in a wheelchair, all in front of the entire world." He pointed toward the screen where comments were flooding in by the thousands. "You think this is just about customer service? No. This is about the rotten foundation this industry has stood on for decades. I built this hotel to be different." His eyes scanned the staff one by one. "And tomorrow morning, this staff will be different, too." The next morning, the once busy hotel lobby was empty. No clinking glasses. No chattering guests. Just silence and tension. Every staff member had been summoned to the top-floor executive boardroom. Some wore forced smiles. Others tried to act unbothered. But deep down, every one of them knew something was coming. Desmond sat at the head of the long oak table, his hands folded calmly in front of him. His sharp, charcoal gray suit looked tailored for war. Mia stood beside him with a clipboard, her expression unreadable. Across from him sat Haley, Tom, Lisa, and the remaining department heads. Behind them stood other staff members, confused, nervous, fidgeting. Desmond cleared his throat. "I won't waste your time. This won't be a speech about company values or training refreshers. This is about consequences." Tom raised a hand, his voice shaky. "Mr. Cole, before you continue, I just want to say we're truly sorry if..." Desmond cut in, his voice low but dangerous. "You're sorry if you were caught being exactly who you are when you thought no one was watching?" Silence. Desmond stood. "Let me ask a question. When I walked into this hotel lobby 2 days ago, hoodie, jeans, no name tag, how many of you saw a man you were supposed to serve?" No one answered. "How many of you saw a problem, an inconvenience, Someone you could casually toss aside without thinking twice. No one moved. Eyes darted. That's what I thought. Mia stepped forward, unrolling a stack of papers. We've compiled footage, audio recordings, and real-time guest reviews of your behavior. And we've sent copies to the media, the investors, and our internal diversity team. Tom's face went pale. Haley looked like she wanted to sink into the floor. Desmond raised a brow. Let me be clear. This hotel chain was built on excellence, not entitlement. You may wear a name tag, but your actions scream something far louder. Then, he turned to Mia. Read the names. She nodded. Effective immediately, the following staff are terminated and banned from working in any of our 118 locations globally. She began listing names: Haley, Tom, Lisa. The list kept going. Each name hit like a bullet. Gasp. Murmurs. Panic. No severance, Desmond said coldly. No recommendations. And before you consider suing, yes, we have the legal team, and yes, we have the evidence. One staff member, a young man in the corner, raised his hand nervously. Mr. Cole. I know I wasn't perfect yesterday, but I've worked here for 5 years. I was just following. Desmond interrupted, but not with anger, this time, with clarity. You had 5 years to stand out. But when it truly mattered, when no cameras were around, when power wasn't in a suit, you failed the one test that can't be trained: human decency. Mia closed the folder. Desmond looked around the room one last time. But I'm not here to burn everything down. A flicker of confusion crossed their faces. I'm here to rebuild. He turned to a small group of staff who had passed the human test the day before, those who had shown compassion, patience, and grace under pressure. Starting today, you're the new senior staff. I'm flying you to New York next week for leadership training. You saw humanity where others saw hierarchy. That's the future of this hotel. Tears welled in some eyes. Gasps. Applause slowly started. Desmond nodded once. Dismissed. As the elevator doors closed on the disgraced employees, cameras flashed, capturing the moment. Not of revenge, but of justice. By sunrise the next day, the hotel scandal wasn't just a private embarrassment anymore, it was global news. #COWhileBlack. #racist hotel exposed. #Desmond Cole. These hashtags were trending across Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Clips from security cameras, edited snippets of the confrontation, and even audio of the receptionist saying, "You people," went viral within hours. People were enraged. Influencers posted reaction videos in tears. Celebrities chimed in. Activists organized. How does something like this still happen in 2025? One popular news anchor asked on a national broadcast. Imagine owning the whole building and still being treated like trash in it, another viral tweet read, gaining over 2.3 million likes in one day. But nothing hit harder than the video Desmond himself posted. No dramatic music. No angry rants. Just him, sitting in his home office, speaking calmly into the camera. My name is Desmond Xavier Cole. I'm the founder and owner of the Aurelius Hotel Group. 3 nights ago, I visited one of my own locations dressed like an ordinary man, no suit, no title, just skin. What I experienced was not poor customer service. What I experienced was systemic racism. They didn't see a tired man looking for a room. They saw a black man they thought didn't belong. But I do belong. And I'll make sure those who look like me never have to prove it again. The video shattered records, 24 million views in 8 hours. People wept. People reposted. People remembered. Back at the hotel, guests began checking out in protest. Major travel bloggers posted negative reviews, warning others about the racist incident. One hotel booking site even temporarily removed the location until internal restructuring was confirmed. But Desmond wasn't done. He announced something unexpected. A full scholarship fund under the hotel's name, specifically for young black students pursuing careers in hospitality, business, and hotel management. He called it the "I Belong Here" initiative. He wasn't just cleaning house. He was rebuilding the whole house with better bricks. That afternoon, Desmond returned to the hotel again, this time walking in through the front door with a full team, press, and a camera crew. People on the street clapped as he entered. And guess who stood behind the reception desk now? Not Haley. Not Lisa. But Amara, the soft-spoken Nigerian cleaner who had been ignored by everyone the day Desmond was thrown out. She was now wearing a crisp blazer and name tag, Front Desk Manager, Amara Chukwemeka. Desmond shook her hand in front of everyone. "You treated me like a person. Now, you'll help shape how this hotel treats every guest." Amara held back tears. The crowd watching clapped. A reporter shouted, "Mr. Cole, what message are you sending today?" Desmond looked at the cameras. Simple. Racism has no room service here. Boom. Another headline. Another viral moment. Just when it seemed like Desmond's justice had turned the tide, backlash crept in. A coalition of the fired employees, led by Haley and Tom, hired a high-profile attorney. They filed a lawsuit accusing Desmond of wrongful termination, public humiliation, and, ironically, discrimination. The media couldn't believe it. The same people who denied him a room now claimed they were the victims. They argued that Desmond had tricked them into firing themselves by hiding his identity. They said the sting operation was unethical. Haley even went on a talk show, crying fake tears and claiming Desmond had ruined her life over a small misunderstanding. Some networks, desperate for controversy, gave them airtime. Did the CEO go too far? Is this reverse racism? Was this just a publicity stunt? Desmond stayed silent. He didn't tweet. He didn't grant interviews. He didn't respond to any bait. Instead, he worked. Behind the scenes, his legal team gathered documents, proof of repeated complaints against Haley and Tom from past guests and even former staff. Complaints that had been buried. Emails. Audio. Eyewitness reports. And then came the bombshell. Mia, always 10 steps ahead, uncovered something huge. Haley had previously worked at another high-end hotel where a very similar racial discrimination complaint was filed, and quietly settled. The moment Desmond's team released that information, the world turned on her completely. Sponsors dropped her. Her lawyer withdrew. Even her own co-plaintiffs began backing out. Still, Desmond didn't stop there. He called a press conference, not for revenge, but for reform. Standing before a wall of flashing cameras, he laid out the Aurelius Accord, a new internal hotel policy that would be adopted across all 118 locations worldwide. It included bodycam-like lapel recorders for front desk and management to ensure accountability. A 24/7 racial equity hotline for guests and staff to report bias anonymously. Mandatory empathy training, not the corporate fluff kind, but real, raw, uncomfortable conversations led by people who've lived it. And most importantly, a new leadership pipeline to promote underrepresented voices within the company. Then came his final words of the night, the mic drop. Racism doesn't need a megaphone to be deadly. Sometimes, all it takes is a silent nod, a fake smile, and a denied keycard. But if you think I came this far to stay quiet, think again. The room erupted in applause. Not polite applause, standing ovation applause. Even news networks that had criticized him now called the moment historic. And for the first time in a long time, black hotel guests everywhere said they finally felt seen. One tweet went viral with over 5 million shares. Desmond Cole didn't just check into a hotel. He checked into history. 2 months after the scandal rocked the nation, something extraordinary happened. Desmond received a personal invitation to the Global Hospitality Summit in Geneva, Switzerland. He was asked to give the keynote speech on the theme, "Rebuilding Trust in a Divided World." Executives, world leaders, social justice advocates, and celebrities all gathered, waiting to hear from the man who had turned humiliation into a global movement. Desmond stepped onto the massive stage, not in a tuxedo or tailored suit, but in a simple black sweater with bold white text. "I belong here." The crowd erupted. But Desmond simply raised a hand, silencing the room with calm authority. He began. "A black man walks into a hotel he owns, and gets kicked out. Sounds like a bad joke, doesn't it? But it happened. To me. And it wasn't the first time I was made to feel like a stranger in places I helped build. What they didn't know was, I don't need a room key to prove I belong. I am the blueprint. I own the building. And now, I'm redesigning the foundation so no one else gets locked out." The room stayed silent, not from boredom, but awe. People leaned forward, some wiping tears. He spoke for 20 minutes, no slides, no prompts, just truth. And when he ended with, "To anyone who's ever been told, you don't belong here, let this moment remind you, they don't decide where you belong. You do." The hall shook with applause. Some delegates stood on their chairs. It was bigger than a speech, it was a shift. But then, something unexpected happened. Just as Desmond walked off stage, one of the summit officials rushed toward him and whispered something. Confused, Desmond followed him to the lobby where a glass curtain had been draped across the wall. A small group of people, including Mia and Amara, stood waiting. A golden plaque was about to be revealed. The host pulled the curtain. The Desmond Cole International Wing for Equity in Hospitality. Established to educate, employ, and elevate underrepresented people in global hotel management. Desmond stood frozen. He hadn't asked for this. He didn't expect it. But now, a part of the very system that once rejected him was being renamed in his honor. Mia leaned in and whispered with a smile, "Told you they'd remember." And then, a little girl from the crowd, maybe 8 years old, with brown skin and big eyes, walked up to him holding a notebook. She said softly, "Mr. Cole, when I grow up, I want to build a hotel like you." Desmond knelt down, signed her book, and replied, "Don't just build one. Own the whole street." The cameras captured it all. And by nightfall, the story circled the globe again, only this time, not as a tragedy or a scandal, but as a legacy. 1 foot. Then the other. It all happened too fast. Or maybe too slow. She turned around, eyes wide, confused. "Sissy?" That was the last time she called me that. I shoved her. She landed on her back with a thud, a sharp cry bursting from her lips. I dropped the flashlight and grabbed the shovel. My arms moved on their own. One scoop. Then another. Then another. She screamed. At first. Then she begged. "Please, Sissy, don't." Dirt flew into her mouth. Into her eyes. Her hands reached up, clawing at nothing. I kept digging. Covering. Burying. Her voice grew faint. Then silence. The forest went quiet again. Just me. The mound. The trees. And the monster I had become. I stood there shaking, arms coated in dirt, heart pounding so loud it echoed in my ears. I didn't cry. I didn't even breathe for a while. Then I turned off the flashlight, wiped my face with the back of my hand, and walked back home. I had a new game to play now. It was called The Girl Who Got Away. When I got back to the house, the porch light flickered like it was unsure whether to stay on or give up. I walked up the steps slowly, careful not to let my legs give out beneath me. My chest was heaving, not from the walk, but from the weight of what I'd just done. I opened the door, stepped inside, and collapsed on the floor, right in front of the couch. That's where Mama found me when she came home. Her voice cracked the moment she saw me. "Margaret. Lord Jesus, what happened to you?" I didn't speak. Not right away. She dropped her Bible, knelt beside me, and grabbed my shoulders. My dress was covered in dirt. My face scratched. My eyes wide and empty. Daddy ran in behind her, keys still in hand. "Where's Ariel? Where's your sister?" That's when I let the tears come, not real grief, but the kind that wins sympathy. Big, choking sobs. I cried like I'd practiced in front of a mirror, like I knew what they wanted to hear. "She's gone," I screamed. "They took her." Mama gasped. Who? Who took her?" "Two white men," I whispered, choking back fake sobs. "In a red truck. They pulled us into the woods. I don't know where." I ran. I kept running. Daddy looked like he'd been punched in the gut. He turned and ran back out the door, calling for the sheriff. Mama held me tight, rocking back and forth, crying into my hair. My baby girl, thank you, Jesus, for bringing Margaret back." For the first time in my life, she said my name like it mattered. And I held on to her tighter. That night, the house lit up like a crime scene. Police officers stormed in. Flashlights swept through the woods. Dogs barked. Neighbors showed up in nightgowns and coats, whispering rumors. Mama kept me in her lap the whole time, brushing my hair gently like she'd never done before. "I'm so proud of you," she said. "You're so brave." I nodded, staring straight ahead, trying not to blink. Because blinking might bring Ariel's face back into my mind. The dirt. The screams. The hole. By morning, the town was buzzing. Flyers went up on every pole. Missing, Ariel Jennings, age 6, last seen near Briar Creek. Reward money was raised. A pastor said a prayer for her in front of the whole church. Mama sobbed on the front pew like her soul was being ripped out. And me? I sat next to her. Quiet. Folded hands. Haloed in sympathy. They brought me candy. Dolls. A new pink dress. I became the girl who survived the impossible. The miracle child. The brave big sister. For the first time in my 10 years of life, they saw me. They held me. They called me by name. And I let them. I let them build a story out of lies and pity and grief. I let them believe the tears, the trembling, the nightmares I faked. I let them love me like they never had before. Because for the first time, it felt good. It felt right. It felt fair. But late at night, when the house got quiet and the frogs outside started to sing, I'd hear her voice. Soft. Small. From under the ground. "Sissy, why did you do it?" And I'd pull the covers over my head. Because even if the world believed me, Ariel never would. The days that followed felt like a dream I wasn't supposed to wake up from. Mama brushed my hair each morning before school, humming gospel songs and calling me baby girl like she used to call Ariel. Daddy left me notes in my lunchbox, drawings of little suns and hearts with the words, "Be strong. We love you." The same man who used to grumble when I asked for a second slice of pie now made me pancakes shaped like stars. They never mentioned the bruises they used to leave behind when they were mad. Never called me dramatic again. Never told me to stop whining. Never told me to be more like Ariel. Because Ariel was gone. And I was the miracle. But something wasn't right. No matter how many hugs I got, or how many toys they bought me, I couldn't silence the scratching under my bed. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube.